Hello, life leaders. How are you today? It is Friday, another beautiful week, almost over. And I hope everything's going really well for you this week. I wanted to jump on here and today talk about budgeting and the fun stuff that goes along with that. My subject today is the three main things that are sabotaging the possibility of having a successful budget. And I know for me, budgeting was one of those things that everybody talked about. Everybody really says, do you have a budget in place? Are you following your budget? Do you have a plan? And I knew what a budget was, but I didn't know truly how to do a budget, right? How do you do a budget? So for me, it was about learning the point of a budget, what's included in a budget, and things like that. But if you don't know me, so today I just want to talk about the three things that are sabotaging you in your efforts in making a budget if you have a budget. So if you don't know me, my name is Sheila Wood, and I am the CEO of Lead Life by Design and the creator of the Financial Alignment Academy, where we blend personal development along with financial strategies for your personal finances. So in that being said, I wanted to ask you, how many of you actually have a budget? Right? How many of you actually have a plan in place for the income that is coming in for you today? Right? If you don't know where you are and you don't really have a vision for where you want to go, then how are you expected to get there? Right? There's no path and there's no plan in place. So the importance of having a budget is huge. But the restrictive feeling that goes along with a budget can be eliminated if you do a budget correctly, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about today is emotional spending, right? How many of us really struggle with spending as we go through the line, right? Looking at those impulse buys, because, sometimes it's just about, I want it right now. It looks good. I got a couple bucks. Let me just pick it up. And it's usually those things that are next to the register, right? Those things that are marketed to catch you right before you walk out the door, right? But where I really want to go with emotional spending is deeper. I want to go into that spending because you're lonely, that need to get out of the house and do something, because if you stay where you are, you're going to drive yourself crazy, right? That restrictive feeling of, I know I don't have the money to do that, but if I don't do that, I'm going to go crazy, right? And one of the challenges with the emotional spending is really recognizing the reasoning behind it. I had a couple other examples that I just want to throw out for you. Boredom, loneliness. One of my clients really recognized when she did her spending review how much money she spent late in the evening going to Walmart because she really just didn't want to sit at home by herself. She was feeling lonely. And what we worked through with her was that while she was feeling those feelings, she could actually reach out to her friends. She didn't actually have to sit there and be lonely in the house because she had friends and family who were willing to spend time with her. But where she recognized the loneliness was coming from wasn't necessarily that she didn't have friends and family that she could reach out to. But for her, being a single woman at home, she was feeling like she needed something to fill that relational void, even though it wasn't necessarily that she didn't have friends. So one of the things that we worked through was being able to reach out to her friends and say, look, I'm really having one of those moments where I'm antsy. Would you mind coming over and watching a movie with me? Or maybe, can I come over and we watch a movie with you or have a glass of wine or something that we can do together, right? Just to get out of the house without having to go to the store and put all this stuff in her cart that she really didn't need. And what was so cool about that is when we addressed the emotional side of the loneliness, and she actually caught herself at Walmart, because remember, awareness is the key, right? She caught herself at Walmart and she recognized how much stuff was in the basket that was actually filling that void of not being lovable in the moment, right? The clothes, the makeup, the things that we all feel pretty with as a woman, right? And she's so funny. She actually put it all back and she calls me and she's so excited because it was a shift for her, and it was a shift for her in the moment by being allowing to be aware of it, right? Heartaches, stress and anxiety, feelings of void, all of those are emotional reasons why we go out and spend. So what I really wanted to hone in on that one is 3 things that you can do to shift it in the moment. One is recognizing when the feelings come up, right? For her, it was recognizing that she's at Walmart at midnight and didn't really understand why she was there, right? She's like, why am I even here? I didn't need anything. So her asking the why helped her be aware of the emotion, which allowed her to actually shift it. Right? Because step 2 in that is identifying the cause, identifying that she was feeling lonely because in that moment, she was missing some companionship. But the third thing that she did that's important to do when you're looking at emotional spending is to really decide, do you want to own it and shift it and really recognize that it's not in your best benefit to be spending the money in the moment? What else can I do? Right? Or 2, to own it and say, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna buy it and I'm not gonna feel shamed about it. There are consequences to owning it and buying anyway, right? Because now you don't have the money for the things that it was needed to use. And you really didn't need those items anyway. But the important piece of that is if you're gonna own it and you're gonna do it, then own it and do it. Let go of the shame on it and start over tomorrow, right? Start reaching out to those friends. Make that decision for yourself and move forward. All right, the second piece of that is unexpected needs, right? How many times do your children come and say, I need $200, Mom, for that science project that's due on Thursday, and today is Tuesday, right? How often do your kids come and say, Mom, prom's next week, and I need to buy a dress, and I need to buy shoes. I need to get my hair done. I need new makeup. I need, right? All these unexpected needs that come up. Maybe your car is breaking down, and all of a sudden you're at the side of the road, and you don't know why in the world your car won't move, right? But the truth of the matter is these unexpected needs can be expected if you're planning correctly within your budget, right? In my program, the financial alignment program, I talk about the living budget. I don't talk about the restrictive budget. For me, it's about let's budget life, how it happens in it, because your finances are so tied to your emotions and the emotional needs of your family that if you don't look ahead for that, they're going to constantly knock you on your knees, constantly. For me, as I was going through my journey of getting out of debt after my divorce, I was so frustrated. I would make some progress and all of a sudden this big $4,000 or $5,000 bill would show up in my doorstep. I'd make some more progress and all of a sudden my car was not working and I had to spend $2,000 on the transmission. All of a sudden, just one thing right after another. And what I had to start doing is really identifying the cause of those unexpected needs. Truly, did they need to be unexpected? When you look at the beginning of the year, your year spending, and you get with your family, right? And you identify all the things that are going to be happening throughout the year. Every year prom happens, right? Every year you have science projects. Every year you've got soccer games and soccer tournaments that you've got to deal with. Every year your car needs maintained. Every year you can look at your house and say, you know what, my roof is coming due. What is that going to look like for me? Those large purchase expectations, those need to be built into the budget. Because what's really happening is when they come to you and need that $200, you give it to them, whether you have it or not, right? You make it work in the moment. And you steal from Peter to pay Paul because it wasn't in the budget and you really didn't have it to give them. And prom being such an important piece, or the science project, where it really doesn't have a choice in it. Now you can have a choice in where you buy those things and how much money you spend on those things, right? But the fact of the matter is there's a science project due every year. So if you get with your family, right, number one is identify those large purchases. Have the meeting with your family. What's going on this year for you? What hobbies is it that you're wanting to have this year? And can we fit it in the budget, right? You list them down. You identify them. And the next thing is to decide where's your priorities in that? What should we keep in the budget and what should we not keep in the budget? And so that everybody is satisfied with the things that are coming up. That family discussion can truly keep you on track with your budget. Not only that, but then your children see that there's actually buy-in from them. They can actually see that you have a plan in place. It's not that you're just telling them no all the time, and it's not their fault that that you don't have any money in this moment, right? They can see that it's planned, it's structured. Let's make sure that we have this in place so that we can all work together to get there, right? So recognizing your need ahead of time is number one. Identifying the emotions surrounding that, right? The importance of prom to a girl could truly have an emotional impact, especially if she's struggling in school with friends and there's things going on there. That emotion can be really strong and truly throw you right off track. And the third thing is deciding together a plan, right? So the third piece that I wanted to really bring up and talk about are habitual patterns. Habitual patterns can throw you off track easily. For me, my habitual pattern is I like new cars. I did an entire article about should I pay my car off. It's on my website at leadlifeinc.com. And it really talks about recognizing your habitual patterns when it comes to cars, that particular article. But for you, it's about looking at all of your patterns, right? How often do you go on vacation last minute just because you like to have that free flow? You're one of those people that really enjoy impulse moments, but you don't necessarily have the money for those impulse moments, but you make it work, right? Your priority in the moment is to be impulsive. If you look at that from a strategic perspective in the beginning of the year, you build in those impulses. So in other words, you're planning to spend a certain amount of money, and how you spend it, you leave open for those impulse moments. But having that money over here set aside keeps you on track with the abundance that you're at, right? Keeps you on track with having that life, not feeling quite so restrictive in the budget, but still having a budget and still working towards your ultimate goals, right? Because priorities in the moment matter. Because the priority in the moment is guided by the emotions and the feelings that you are having in the moment. Right? So a couple examples that I had, and I know I'm looking at my notes and I apologize, but I just want to make sure that I catch some of these points. New car every 30 years, that was my emotional piece. New clothes every quarter. You know, one of the things that I recognize being in the professional industry that, and I'm speaking of women because I am a woman, right? So that's my experience. When I'm looking at the professional woman growing in the ranks, right? I am also looking at how are they dressing? How are they acting? What kind of confidence do they carry, right? Some women can take that to the extreme because their worth is built in what other people think rather than their actual ability to do the job. Therefore, they go out and they have to look the part as if they're making a lot more money than they are, like every quarter or every weekend. It could actually be tied into the emotional spending. If her worth isn't feeling very high, buying new clothes makes her feel better, right? And wearing those new clothes to work helps that confidence level go up because now she's giving that perception that she wants to give, that she's confident in doing the job. When really clothes don't have anything to do with it. Yes, there's a look and a style that fits the job that you are in, but it doesn't have to be new clothes every day or every quarter or every weekend, right? Shoe fetish is another one. You know, people that love shoes. If I had a closet big enough, I would be a boot collector because I love cowboy boots. The stitching, the beauty, they're gorgeous. The artwork that goes into those cowboy boots, I love them. Is that practical? No. Am I ever going to wear them? No. Are they pretty and sitting in my closet? They could be if I allowed it. Because that's one of my emotional weaknesses is those pretty shiny things, right? The shiny objects. Another really big one of habitual patterns is buying dinner for everyone every time you go out. Being that person that wants everybody to like them, wants everybody to feel like you love them, right? And to do that is by buying stuff for them, whether it's dinner every time you go out, drinks with your friends because you want to, make yourself feel better, because really it's what it's about, is making yourself feel better. When in reality, they're there with you and okay with paying, right? One of my clients goes out to dinner. This was another habitual piece that she found, was every time she took her family out to dinner, she had to pick up the bill. Because being mom in that situation, in her mind, meant that she had to take care of those children in the moment. But those children are years old. They're 20-something years old, working. They have their own money. And they're there just to have time with their mom. Like, mom doesn't have to pay for everything. But if it's something that you truly enjoy and that family is a core value for you, and bringing the family together in those moments is a core value for you, then planning for that in the beginning of the year and having money set aside for that is important, right? If you look back at the last 2 years at how much money you spent on the family eating out and how often, you can gauge how much you're going to need for next year. And instead of spending the money that you don't have in the moment, actually preparing that spending ahead of time. Right? And I know one of the biggest things that people say is, I can't afford to put that in my budget, right? And one of the other biggest things people say is, how much coffee do you drink every day? How many cigarettes do you smoke every day? What kind of habits do you have in place that you're actually habitually spending money on? Yes, those are areas that you can look at if you're willing to look at them. They are. But those are also areas that could throw you off track if you're not careful. If you budget them out and you don't have the commitment for it, it's not going to help. You have to determine that commitment for yourself, right? But when you're looking at those habitual patterns that you have and you're looking at your annual plan, don't forget to look at the emotional spending, habitual patterns, unexpected large purchases that show up for you, right? Identify them in the moment. Identify the emotions that are actually behind them, because if you can feel the emotion that's behind them, you can shift it. And whether that's calling a friend, whether that's taking a nap, I'll take a nap sometimes when I'm just like, I'm feeling so antsy and I know I need to get out of the house, but everyone's busy, right? Sometimes I'll just lay down and take a nap, or I'll go for a walk, or I'll go to the state park. For me, nature helps calm me. But finding those mechanisms that will help you get through those moments to help you stay on track is key. Awareness, identifying, right? Choosing to own it or shift it in the moment. And the third one is truly about determining the plan. Try to stay ahead of the game with those items. Just checking my notes real quick. So what I typically do in the Financial Alignment Academy is we go through a whole process of looking at their spending, where's your money going now, looking at your debt structure, looking at, those big purchases on an annual basis. Do you have any big dreams? Do you have any expected large purchases like a roof on the house or tires on the car or things like that, right? And then building that into a living budget where you're also looking at your hobbies, your children's hobbies, your husband's hobbies. You're looking at, things that you want to do for the year, your big dreams for the year, like traveling. Maybe it's about being, like I said earlier, maybe it's about being that person that is flexible and likes to do things impulsively. But you can be impulsive and have a plan, right? But having someone help guide you through that budgeting process helps as well. So when you're looking at your annual budget, you're actually looking at all of the, not just the utilities, the rent, the things that go on your credit card monthly, like your Audible subscription or your gym membership that you don't use, right? That's a part of it, but you cannot forget the living expenses. You cannot forget the things that come up for you daily, because those are the things that eat at all of your abundance in a budget. So that was really what I had for you today, is building a life in your budget, allowing for breathing room, prioritizing your money, and then allowing you to find abundance where you are, because the way you structure your budget matters in how close to the penny you're getting, right? The idea is to have all your funds allocated, but it's allocated to the degree that you're able to be flexible. So that's really all I have for you today. So I hope it wasn't too terribly boring for you. I know talking about finances and budget is never an easy subject to talk about. And it's something that I actually enjoy from the journey that I've taken and the clients that I have worked with and the belief systems that are around all of it. And when you hone in on all of that while you go through and create a plan, it allows you the freedom mentally and energetically to start looking at other ways. It allows you the freedom to start looking at a future that you may not see today. But if you like this video, please like below, comment. I love to hear what you have to say. What is your number one budget issue? What is the one thing that throws you off every single time you try to get things pulled together? Share it down below. I would love to hear from you. And I look forward to next Friday at 10:30. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you, and I love you. Bye. See if I can shut this off. Bye.